What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I want to answer a question that I got on why I don't review more popular golf equipment. And I think what we're talking about here are new sets of clubs, those types of things. And one of the reasons that I don't is because, well, first of all, it gets very expensive. There are some things that you can purchase, use, resell, and get a lot of your money back, or maybe I want it, but there are a lot of issues with golf clubs. And a lot of that has to do with customization. And so for me, because I almost always customize my clubs, I don't really play anything off the rack. And so it's kind of like the new Cobra Aerojet irons. I really wanted to try them, see if there was any difference between my LTDx irons, which I don't really expect there to be, but the way they have to be bent, and then I shorten my clubs and I put on fatter grips and all these other things. But the reality is, once I customize clubs for myself, in my case, there's almost no one that plays clubs exactly like I do. If you are 1 degree upright and, half-inch shorter, then there's still probably a lot of people that would like those. In the putter world, that is pretty common. Someone wants, hey, a 70-degree lie angle and it extended 2 inches, or someone wants a 66-degree lie angle and shorten 4 inches, so you're only talking about one club and you're talking about a lot of different people with a lot of different putting styles. But in the swing plane on golf clubs, there tends to be kind of this bell curve and this real meaty part of the curve that, clubs are already actually manufactured to. So, if you're outside of that, maybe you're doing a little adjusting. If you need major adjustments, then you're going to own those clubs forever, because there's probably no one that needs your extreme adjustments and no one that's going to pay for it, and no one that's going to be able to find you even when you're selling it. So the problem for me is to test anything, it ends up becoming mine completely. And so I don't really have any way to recoup any costs that I might put into testing of the clubs. Now, that might be fine if Cobra were like, Pete, every year we're just going to send you the new lineup of our clubs and it doesn't cost me anything except for maybe the adjustments, or sending them my specs, and they were just saying, hey, if you want to try them out, and I didn't have to worry about recovering costs out of them. That could possibly be. But the other piece of it, not just the kind of ongoing financial and fiscal management of the operation here at the Panda Research Institute, is the fact that I don't even know that I call myself a squarely typical amateur golfer, because I know that in terms of handicap, I'm kind of right where the average is, but I think there's something like 80 or 90% of amateur golfers that don't even have a handicap because they don't play enough, or they don't record it, or they don't play strict rules, or whatever it might be. And so who's to say who's average? I actually think I'm much closer to average, but in some ways, the guy who plays twice a summer, and doesn't take a lesson is probably the guy you want to actually know how things perform for, right? The guy you want to see how the hybrids perform for, or the wedges, or whatever they might be. So I think I'm pretty average, but kind of average in the average overweight casual golfer, no lesson kind of deal. Even though I've been playing golf for a while and I took lessons as a kid, I haven't taken lessons in my adult life ever. I probably should. I think a couple lessons would definitely improve my game, but again, it's just a matter of time. It's like anything else. You see, as an expert, I'm going to rant about lessons here for a second, because they're always like, oh, you should spend some money taking some lessons. I totally agree. I don't care what you're in. If you are trying to manage your checkbook, you should probably go to a financial class, so like a budgeting and financial management class. If you are replacing the water filter on your refrigerator's water system, you know what you should do is you should go to a home appliance class. I mean, there are a limitless number of classes that people should take, should get themselves educated on, but it's all a matter of time and priority. And to me, I don't have a lot of time. I kind of work 2 full-time jobs. I mean, I don't really work 80 hours a week, but I effectively have 2 jobs that I could pour 40 hours a week or more, or I do, into already, including this channel. So it's not, something you should pity me for, because I enjoy it. I have a lot of flexibility to do it, but I also try to keep this as a sustained business as well, because I want to be able to continue to do it. If this were something I have to just always subsidize for every review, it probably wouldn't last super long. That's why I'm kind of judicious about what I put out. I've also scaled back kind of my video production to 5 videos a week instead of 7. But the issue to me is that it's not super exciting to review golf equipment if you're not like an Iron Byron, if you're not really showing the minute differences, that really good golfers show, right? I mean, there are a lot of really good channels out there that will show you, hey, I'm getting 2.5 yards more on this driver than I was in last year's driver or whatever. To me, I could do some of those tests. And even if I show you some differences in distances. So I actually did a review of a driver. I'll talk a little bit more about that, why I did that, even though I'm about to say why I don't necessarily do that. Is that for me, if you see slight differences in dispersion or distance or accuracy or launch angle, you can chalk that up to the person. To be really honest, I don't know why you would look at any numbers from someone like me, someone right in the middle of the average hacker, and put too much stock on it because, from one day, from one swing to the next, whatever it might be, from one golf course to the next, it's just so much variation in how I feel or how tight my shoulders might be or whatever it might be. And even for the really good golfers, sometimes I wonder, should you even care? Like that a guy with 115 mile per hour clubhead speed, should you even care that they saw some improvement? Shouldn't we just have a machine that tests them? And here's Rory's swing, here's John Rahm's swing, here's Bryson's swing, and it can just use computer motion guided technology to replicate the swing the same every time. And I know some guys do that with, golf ball testing and some golf club testing and those types of things. But, why do we even leave it to people, in some ways? So anyway, I just don't think if you send me all the new drivers this year and I play them all, that you're just going to see much difference. Now, sometimes I do. And that's when I share something like, to me, I'd be playing that Ping G430, is it this year? It was the driver that I just felt the best with. It is super forgiving. It's a little heavier. It has a high MOI, kind of as high as you can make it. But it wasn't like so much better than the Paradigm or the Aerojet or anything else that I decided not to play it because it really wouldn't work with the shaft that I wanted. So I play these free flex shafts right now, which do give me a little more distance for sure. I know they don't work for everyone. Kind of that auto flex whippy shaft. Some people are like, I just don't get any benefit from it. Now, I will say that as far as I can tell, some people don't get benefit from it and some people do, but no one I've seen has lost speed from it. So I think if you're just swinging very fast and you're consistent, the extra whippiness, I don't know what you're talking about, an extra, few inches, right, of whip or something on the shaft just might not translate to anything for you. So that's all fine. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying if it works for you, great. If it doesn't. And so that's why I'm trying to show is like products that work for me. Like probably the most interesting thing I think are some of the things that are sold generally overseas. You can probably get them here, but then again, the cost of finding an outlet like a distributor and then getting them over here and then testing them and then trying to figure out how people here domestically can get them. It was kind of that way with the Autoflex. I remember having one shipped over from Korea, and I remember even messaging a friend of mine in Korea about, hey, is there any chance you could buy this for me and send it to me because I can't seem to get them here. So there are things that are really so intriguing that I make the effort to find them. But there are some drivers that have seemed to figure out forgiveness in a way that like the US drivers haven't. In fact, there used to be a driver, I think it was called the Sasquatch or something like that. It was kind of a square driver. And it's kind of my thought, like the spider putters, that not only do you want to put the weight back, but I feel like you would want to put the weight back into the corners, right? To the perimeter of the golf ball. So it's not necessarily right behind the golf ball, because if there's, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an engineer, but if the weight is directly behind the golf ball and you hit it center, then the weight is right behind the golf ball and perfect for transmitting as much energy to the golf ball moving forward. But if you put the weight in the driver head way to the back, but then split it so that it's out in the corners. Now, if I'm off center a little bit, I still have roughly equal amounts of weight kind of south of the golf ball and north of the golf ball, as opposed to maybe the weight all being right behind the golf ball. Now it's a few millimeters off. And so now it kind of wants to twist. It kind of wants to torque around the golf ball. And so to me, I saw some videos of like these Japanese drivers, I think, where they had the weights. You can think of them as like those porthole weights but instead of just being like way at the back or maybe a little back and heel side, they were kind of bolted in on the edges, the outside edges, like 3 of them kind of down that toe edge, and then 3 of them kind of down that heel edge, front to back. And so you had these weight rails essentially on the driver, kind of like we do on a putter, and that increases MOI and stability and reduces twisting. So I don't know why that wouldn't work on a driver. So some of those pieces of equipment I am really kind of curious about. They might do nothing. The big OEMs may have experimented with it and be like, Pete, we don't do that because it ended up doing nothing and it ended up creating a lot of closed faces or something. There are probably some other trade-offs that happen that I don't know about, which is why they're not here. But those things I'd be interested in testing because they're so novel. But to me, just to test the 4 new drivers that came out, to me, they're all probably going to be about the same. They always are. And to me, I'm not a good enough golfer that even if there are slight differences between them, that you should read much into that. Other than, hey, they're all equally good for the average slow swinger, right? Oh, swinger. The other type of swinger I'm very fast at, but with golf clubs, I'm a slow swinger. So that's why I don't just kind of test like irons, because even if I see an improvement, unless it's massive, unless I'm just striking them all straight, or they're 10 yards longer than what I've got in the bag or something like that, then I just don't replace stuff out of my bag super quickly. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm just shocked by it. The lab golf putters were crazy. As soon as I tried one of those out, and I think it was the B2, I bought a used B2 on eBay, and it didn't really fit my lie angle and all that, but man, it was just so good. It was so much better than my existing putter that it was no question. And that's why I shared my thoughts on it so quickly, and that's why I ended up buying a bunch of lab golf putters after that, because even the B2 was a pretty low-tech putter in terms of the lab golf world, but man, they're just so good now. The Mez putters, the Link putters, it's hard to even explain. Kind of like the Autoflex shaft. It just gave me like 10, 15 more yards. It was hard to explain. And I think that's what I wanted to share is for people like me who aren't sweating USGA rules all the time, who aren't sweating all the distance all the time, but are looking to make the game as fun as possible, as easy as possible, as enjoyable as possible, with as little effort, right? Without having to necessarily go out and get a lesson, without necessarily having to go out on the golf course and practice chipping. You just want to go out once a month with your buddies and play 9 holes and not necessarily come off the course in a worse mood than you went on the course with. That's what I'm trying to do here. Just trying to enjoy things, right? Like I said, it's like bowling. Nobody takes bowling lessons. When someone's like, hey, you guys want to go bowling? You just go bowling and you laugh kind of when you're really bad, but you just want to go out and enjoy it. Not be so bad that you don't enjoy it, but you want to be able to roll it down the middle, have a good time, be with friends. And that's kind of what I'm saying is I don't want to take bowling lessons. I don't want to know the ins and outs of every piece of bowling tech. What I want to do is know enough that I can maximize what I'm doing in a way that maximizes fun. And that's why I don't test everything. But there are things that I really would love to test. There are things I would love to try. And man, it is exciting when you find something that's, I don't know that you'd even call it game changing, but stuff that, man, gives you that distance. It's even like, I didn't review it, but I have been using them a lot because they've gone through some name changes here. It's the Callaway Magna, like Magnum. I was going to say but that is like hot lava, molten. It's Magna, I think. And they used to be called something else, but they're slightly oversized golf balls. And one of the things that I have found out here is I started playing in a league and man, we were just in super dry conditions. Though they only allowed you 90-degree rule in the fairway because the golf courses were so dried out and they didn't want to kill grass and all this other stuff. So everything was just a tight lie. There was tons of dry mud area or dry dirt area where the ground had even cracked, kind of like the desert ground. And so there were so many tight lies. I started playing with these Magnus because they were just a little bit bigger. They helped me prevent me from thinning the ball sometimes. And I just enjoyed them. Now, I will say that I kind of learned that they don't go as far because they don't have as much density. I think there's only a certain amount of weight you can put in the golf ball, but if you make it bigger, you're kind of reducing the density. So they don't fly as far. But to me, the trade-off I was kind of learning was tight conditions, dry conditions or not, these Magna golf balls are a little easier to hit and I'm just more consistent with them and I'm scoring better even though they don't go as far. How much distance am I giving up? I only think maybe 2 to 4 yards a club. But this is what I'm talking about. It's not just all about distance, but man, if I could make it a little bigger, find the ball a little easier, maybe not be as intimidated, maybe have a little more confidence. So I wanted to do a review on those. It's just golf ball reviews are kind of hard. And, it's really hard to always just be completely subjective on stuff as opposed to just having like hard data. I feel like a lot of golfers want to go out there, see hard data. This improves things. It's actually kind of hard to show golf ball size differences as well, but they're just only slightly larger. Once you start playing with magnets, you don't even think that they're different sizes. But that's just one of the things that I actually think would help a lot of people. I've recommended them to people. It's funny because I've recommended it to some people who have suffered from exactly the same thing I'm suffering from. And I know it'll help them. And yet they're totally reluctant to even try it. And then they complain about thinning golf shots all the time. They're like, oh man, and I'm such tight conditions and dry conditions and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, have you tried those magnets? No, I haven't tried them yet. It's like, all right, whatever. But that's why I don't review every piece of equipment, because in most cases, the changes, the upgrades, the improvements they're making from year to year are pretty small anyway. And what I'm looking for are kind of the big step up stuff, kind of the innovative stuff, the thing that makes it significantly more fun, more enjoyable, or, or significantly more productive for us. So that's it. Just wanted to share that with you. Kind of give you a little bit of insight into the wacky mind of why I choose to review stuff or not. Now, that being said, I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but there is going to be a review of a McGregor MacTech driver that I tested. And one of the reasons that I tested it is because it's cheap. So it didn't cost me a lot to get into, right? In fact, you can buy the head. I actually put it on a shaft I had because I have a ton of shafts. So the head is under $100. Unbelievable that it's that cheap. It's also a name McGregor. I mean, I know it's not a super premium name these days, but it's a name And to me, this $140, $158 driver now that I have, because with the shaft and the grip and all that, just had some incredible results compared to my Paradigm. A driver that is $600 or $700. I mean, so I've got a Paradigm with a Brava shaft, which is like a $300 shaft. So I've got a $1,000 driver versus a $150 driver. And I'll tell you what, the last 2 rounds of golf I've played, I've gamed the McGregor driver. And I didn't say this in the video because I didn't think of it at the time, but that Paradigm driver is darn near close to going up on eBay right now. So I guess that's kind of what I am hoping for, is that some people might find some opportunities here to improve their golf game, avoid spending 5, 6, 7 times as much as they need to, have a great experience and enjoy it and afford it and, live a little better because of the stuff I'm sharing here. So that's the whole goal. That's all I want to say. But until then, until I contradict myself and review something else that doesn't fit my rules, which will guaranteed to be happening, just wanted to share those insights. So that's it. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can stop more and explore so much deeper.